That's it, they're all in. They're off. The Bahrain Trophy gets Ladies' Day at the Boodles July Festival underway, and Think First bounds into an early lead and quickly takes 2 or 3 lengths out of his rivals, with Tower of London and Castleway and the Godolphin Silks of Raw Blue just moving up to sit on the leader's tail, who's just slightly steadied things down a little now under Neil Callan, having got to the front. So at the end of a couple of furlongs, it's Think First leading to Castleway and Tower of London in the purple and white, followed by Land Legend in a white jacket, just shading fourth to the grey St George in the hands of Kieran Fallon, and Klondike, the pink cap for Tom Marquand, looking on last of the half dozen at around about 35 miles an hour or so, just inside 13 seconds for the last furlong. They move into the turn. Think First leading, Castleway, and Tower of London sitting on his tail, disputing second. Land Legend, meanwhile, disputing fourth place with the grey St George, and 2 lengths further back in last place is Klondike as they complete the last part of the bend, and it's the keen-going Think First under Neil Callan, dictating here as they head inside the last mile. Sticking at this stage towards the near side running rail. Think First giving a lead to Castleway in the royal blue, and Tower of London more with a tight hold of his head, the purple and white silks. The second half of the field being disputed between St George the Grey and Land Legend, and Klondike with the pink cap looks on, and they've gone beyond halfway, heading now for the final 5 furlongs. And Think First made every inch of the running so far. Callan was positive from the stalls. He wanted to make the running, and he's been allowed to do so far. They're still nudging 34 miles an hour or so as they head inside the last half mile. Castleway in the raw blue is a close second, and Tower of London waiting in the wings. Then St George, Land Legend in a white jacket against the running rail, and Klondike is just about last of all. And the pace has quickened now. They're 37, 38 miles an hour as they come for the final 3, about to run downhill. Think First being asked for more. Castleway driven up by Buick now, mounting his challenge. More nudging away in behind. He's got nowhere to go at the moment on Tower of London in the purple and white. He's rather trapped on heels, held in by the grey St George, who's making his effort. Klondike on the extreme right is running on. Now Moore finds daylight under the fence and delivers Tower of London to challenge Castleway and St George as they climb inside the last furlong. It's Castleway, Tower of London and St George, though, forming a pincer movement. 3 of them diving for the line in the Bahrain Trophy. It's going to be a finish of inches here. Castleway nose down from Tower of London, St George. Klondike close up in 4th.
William Buick was on board Castleway, the winner of our opening race, the Bahrain Trophy. William, talk me through the race, how it panned out. It looked like the pace wasn't necessarily true.
Absolutely, it was a slowly run race, and my Castleway was stepping up from mile and a quarter to a mile 5. So in many ways, it suited him, and he's a very relaxed horse. So I could put him where he was, and he just got a nice rhythm, and it did turn into a bit of a sprint for sure, which he also was pretty well equipped for. So. And then when Tower of London came to him, he was the second challenger to him in the last furlong, so he fought them off one by one, and he just found a bit more. So, I felt he was well on top at the end.
So well positioned on the one hand, but on the other hand, a good attitude.
Yeah, they were coming at him, so he had to fight them off one by one, and first time over the trip, hasn't run for a while, so very, very pleasing performance for sure.
Charlie's talking about Great Wiltshire and then the St Leger. You said it was a sort of steady pace. How much have we learned about his stamina? Because it's not obvious on his breeding that he'd want an extended 14 furlongs.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't a test. It wasn't a stamina test. But he's been over that trip now, so it gives you a bit of hope. I think the biggest thing for him going forwards over mile and a half or mile 6 is that he relaxes. He gets in a good rhythm, and then you're usually halfway there.
Well, it's a good start to these three days. You've got some great rides, haven't you, for Rafe Beckett as well as for Charlie?
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm really looking forward to it, and good rides to pick up.
And what are you expecting from Adyar? How do you reflect on what happened at Royal Ascot?
I thought it was a good run. It wasn't a bad run, but obviously the expectations from him are very high, and rightly so. So, you can't miss the break like he did in a race like the Prince of Wales, and then expect to win. So, that didn't help him. he's over a mile and a half today, obviously, so you know it's a race that we obviously expect him to go well in.
Finally, the Racing Post was crafting an argument today that he might be better over a mile and a half than 10 furlongs. What's your perspective?
He's proven effective over both. His best form is over a mile and a half. We'll find out more after today, I guess.
Well, how much will we find out, I suppose?
Yeah, I don't know, but he is effective over both, but obviously the argument would be that his best form lies over a mile and a half.
Well, best of luck later. I hope it goes well. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And Charlie Appleby has just seen Castleway win the Bahrain Trophy. He's just sorting out a few logistics at the moment. Everything calm?
All good, thank you.
Good. And what did you make of that success?
Yeah, no, delighted. He's a horse that's done a little wrong in his career, really. But his one real blip was just Epsom on soft ground. But we're coming here today. You know, we were confident at home that the step-up in trip would suit him. Obviously, it's, you know, last seen at the Rolling Marder over the mile and a quarter, so that, you know, there was a question mark there, as there always is when you're going up beyond that mile and a half sort of category. But a great ride by William. We went out there to ride him as though trip wasn't an issue, and as William said, for a mile and short of a mile and 6 race, he said we went very steady. So it did turn into a bit of a sprint, and at one stage I thought, oh, we've committed now, and you're going to have to find again. And to be fair to the horse, he dug deep.
He did find plenty. It wasn't a thorough sort of search of his stammer, though, and I was going to say, on his page, you know, his breeding, it isn't necessarily obvious that you want the step up in trip, but you're confident that something like the Sedate in the long term might be something for him?
No, most definitely. I think, you know, we'll probably go down the natural route there and look towards the Voltigeur, and then hopefully that will springboard us into you know, being a leisure contender anyway. What
did you see in him that decided you to go in this direction? Because he had the Prix Jockey Club entry, he had the King Edward entry, you decided to wait for this?
Look, we haven't had a run since May, and for no other reason that we, you know, I dodged sort of Ascot because of King of Steel, to be brutally honest. I couldn't see us beating him. So then the net target was obviously need to stay here. Obviously we kept an eye on the Grand Prix de Paris, and you know, we just felt that again we're having to ship there. He hasn't done that before, and it's it's a small but competitive race. So on our doorstep, before we come up here and at least test our stamina here before we go travelling.
Have you got the same strength and depth of 3-year-olds this season than maybe the year before and the year before that?
I think most people can answer that for me, really.
No.
No, and that's just the way it is. You know, obviously, as we know, you know, in the spring there, people thought that we weren't firing on all cylinders. I was confident with what we were doing at home, everything was right, and I felt the horses were fit and well.
Have you got your finger on the problem, on what that problem was?
I think the same as in the question you just asked.
Right, okay. It's a quality thing.
Yeah, it was. All joking apart, Lily. Yeah, no, it was. As I said, the only thing we've got is a touch of the slows with the 3-year-olds, and you know, apart from you've got these horses that are more late burners, but as respects to the Guineas horses, we didn't have that. You know, we were spoilt the year before in Caribus and Modern Games and Native Trail. And of course, you'd love to have that year in, year out, but I'm sure people will find that quite boring. I wouldn't, but I'm sure people would. And this year, you know, at the end of the day, I think we didn't have a winner of a Dewhurst, we didn't have the winner of a Racing Post Trophy or a Phillies Mile, and so the signs were there. You know, we all know, unless you're in the first 3 of the Dewhurst, realistically, that's where you need to be competitive in the Guineas.
And how much are you looking forward to Adyar in the Princess of Wales as yesterday, using it as a springboard towards the King George? Yeah, no, delighted with him, and very much that's what that's what the plan is. You know, like any athlete, I wanted this horse to hopefully go into the King George with his chest out on the back of hopefully what will be a nice success this afternoon. But we'll hopefully get that job done first before we get too carried away. And your stable companion there to make sure the pace is true? Yeah, but also yes. But he's there as a genuine horse himself. He doesn't look out of place at all in a race like this. It's only a small field, but you know, realistically, we've seen him, you know, year on year putting up these good performances. Absolutely. But congratulations, best of luck there. Thanks, Lydia. Thank you.
Subscribe to Racing TV's YouTube channel now to watch more great races like this.